welcome to Business Africa, your weekly appointment with the African economy. Like every week, $150 to win at the end of the show with our game Business Africa. But right now, here are the main highlights. Cape Verde, the former Portuguese colony, lives under the threat of successive droughts. With at least 1 out of 2 Cape Verdeans living on agriculture, they have learned to manage water efficiently.
It's thanks to the training we received as part of the project that we learnt how to farm and work more efficiently.
George Senvi is a cattle breeding enthusiast. Owner of one of the few poultry farms in Togo, he has turned his business quite profitable thanks to a training program.
Tous les ingrédients qui entraient dans la composition de l'alimentation a augmenté. Dans le même temps, nous ne pouvons pas augmenter d'autant le prix des œufs.
Counterfeiting spares no country in the world, including Africa. An example here with these young gold diggers in search of the precious metal.
Finding gold changed many things in my life. I built a house, and now I can get by in life quite well. It allows me to make a good living.
If I say gold diggers, you might think of those adventurers sifting the sand and gravel of the rivers looking for the precious metal, or to those people willing to sink hundreds of feet underground in the hope of finding the nugget that would change their lives. Well, in Burkina Faso, more and more people are venturing themselves in the midst of the bush equipped with metal detectors. But one problem remains: those detectors are often counterfeits bought at a high price. Report by Lionel Koshwa and Paul Hitte.
A group of hunters emerges from the high grasses of the savannah in western Burkina Faso. Their weapons are not guns. Instead, these men carry detectors, and what they're looking for lies underground. Gold, the legendary precious yellow metal that, if you're lucky, can make you rich overnight.
Finding gold changed many things in my life. I built a house, and now I can get by in life quite well. It allows me to make a good living.
Badra was one of the extremely lucky few. His haul of gold made him over $60,000. In a country where the average annual income is about $300, he's now considered a very wealthy man indeed. And all over Burkina Faso, hundreds of men, women and children are prospecting for gold. No one knows the exact numbers, but throughout Africa, almost 250,000 detectors were sold in 2012 alone. Burkina Faso is the African continent's 4th largest producer of gold and the country's #1 export. 32 tons, bringing in almost $250 million in 2011. Yet it remains one of the continent's poorest nations.
They are desperate to find gold because it is a quick, easy and reliable solution to a lot of the problems that they're experiencing in this region.
Sayomba Kowalga was particularly fortunate. He's brandishing a small nugget, just part of the 18 kilos he says he's found using the special gold detectors. It's certainly an improvement on the more traditional process, which involved back-breaking work, digging and sifting through tons of rubble. Dozens of holes bear witness to these primitive methods as modern-day gold hunters armed with detectors wait for a telltale sign that might indicate a nugget buried just below the surface. Once detected, the prospector or his team will dig down, rarely more than 1 meter, to unearth the elusive yellow metal.
Gold is the only real metal that exists in the ground in a nugget form, which is large enough for the machine to pick up. So it will pick up gold predominantly out of all of the metals that are available in the ground.
And yet, as the saying goes, all that glitters is not gold, and not all the detectors can detect gold. Such is the demand for the machines in countries across sub-Saharan Africa that inevitably many are trying to cash in by producing large quantities of counterfeit detectors. At between $650 and $5,000, the sophisticated devices represent a life savings for many. Investing in a counterfeit machine which carries no guarantee and are rarely effective could have disastrous financial consequences. It's something part-time gold hunter and school teacher Isuf Samfo learnt to his cost.
It would go off for no reason. It would beep and there'd be nothing. I soon realized it wasn't working. And then someone told me there were a lot of fakes around here.
The teacher turned prospector had to approach other poor investors, and now he says 4 of them share one detector, but at least they know it's genuine. Even so, Isuf has had to return to teaching as a result of the financial losses from purchasing a fake machine. His case is just one of many hundreds.
The detecting capability of the fake machines isn't good. And the real problem is there's no guarantee. The retailer himself says there's nothing he can do because he buys them from abroad without knowing they're fakes.
Many of the counterfeit products reach Africa through Dubai, on the shores of the Gulf. In an effort to stamp out the flood of counterfeit products, new detection systems are being put into place.
Minelab, like many leading worldwide brands, has had to develop innovative strategies against counterfeit manufacturers based in China that sell direct to our developing markets and through major hubs such as Dubai.
One of the principal manufacturers of the gold detectors, Minelab, now issues a brochure to verify the machine is genuine. A viewer strip is placed over the security label on the detector and should reproduce a predetermined series of colors and words. Another, more recent measure involves sending an SMS.
By simply texting the product serial number and the hidden code revealed by the security viewing strip to us, we will verify by text that you are purchasing genuine Minelab product.
Ironically, Minelab's main distribution center in Dubai is flanked by shops also selling detectors. And according to sources People TV has contacted, they often trade in counterfeit devices. Back in Burkina Faso, meanwhile, the gold rush continues. There's a steady flow of clients who receive some basic training at retail centers scattered across the country. And once they've purchased the detectors, they head out into the bush to join the hundreds, if not thousands, prospecting for gold, all with one objective: to strike it rich, like Suleiman Ouedraogo. With a harvest of nuggets he's found, Suleiman says he's bought 3 plots of land, 3 motorbikes and 3 more detectors. And most importantly, he adds, he can now afford to send all 10 of his children to school.
According to FAO, conflicts in Africa are the cause of malnutrition for more than 34 million people. In countries affected by crisis, but also in neighboring countries that are seeing their population explode with families fleeing violence. According to the NGO Safer World, wars have cost Africa 200 billion euros in 15 years. An amount equivalent to the money received in the framework of international aid during that same period. Rwanda has just started the construction of a 560 megawatt power station fueled by methane from Lake Kivu. Located at the border between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Lake Kivu is packed with about 60 cubic kilometers of methane and 300 cubic kilometers of carbon dioxide, a real time bomb that Kigali seeks to turn into a source of energy to provide the electricity in the country, but also for cooking gas. The plant will be operated by Shima Power Lake Kivu within a public and private partnership. The history of this archipelago of 500,000 inhabitants located 500 kilometers west of Senegal is punctuated by deadly famines due to droughts. Today, even if the country imports 80% of its food, more than half of Cape Verdeans live on agriculture. The sustainable management of a single drop of water is a national know-how that can inspire many countries.
Cape Verdeans are used to making do with what nature has provided. Their lands are scattered over 10 windswept islands in an archipelago off West Africa. Life for generations past was made even harder as the harsh conditions and mountainous terrain made the availability of water a constant challenge for the inhabitants.
We used to come to this area here to watch the monkeys. Then, with the droughts, all the trees disappeared, and we never saw the monkeys after that.
In fact, barely 10% of the land remains arable, and many on Cape Verde had little or no access to fresh water.
People had to carry up to 20 liters at a time over long distances and on steep slopes. Especially the women, who used to have to struggle very hard.
In the Picos and Engenhos catchment areas, surface waters would simply run off down the steep slopes, dragging thousands of tons of soil and rubble in its wake. So raised platforms or terracing was constructed on viable slopes to prevent the runoff and add new fertile parcels of land, all reinforced with solid rock wall gabions.
The wall has really helped, because it's allowed me to plant the produce over and under the rocks.
Eventually, a system of the large step-like formations was fashioned out of the mountainsides, covering 90 square kilometers in all. Dams, reservoirs and over 100 dikes were constructed, as well as the boring of new wells over a 6-year period. Water storage, having been optimized, a series of irrigation for the reclaimed land was also introduced. Simple but effective methods are used, such as rubber piping. Over 350,000 Cape Verdeans live in rural areas. Traditionally, people here grew enough to feed their families and little more.
It's thanks to the training we received as part of the project that we learnt how to farm and work more efficiently. If we'd received that sort of training before, we'd have had a better life, because we used to work hard but got little in return.
Education, as well as technology for smallholders, used to simply clearing the slopes in a wasteful and harmful slash and burn practice. The project oversaw the replanting of 1,700 hectares of degraded land.
Before there was this dam, we didn't have much to work on. But the dam and the land that's now been irrigated means we can now work the fields and grow produce. Thank God.
Thousands of woody and fruit trees were planted, including banana trees, one of the island's mainstays. Over $1 million worth of credit was made available to farmers, who were then able to build or refurbish stables for livestock and import new animals and learn new techniques.
This cow has now had 2 calves. The other has had 3, but there are still difficulties with the bull. We have to find a way to make the cows more fertile, but I did sell the calves for about $1,000 each.
Agricultural trainees received a basic salary and social security, and a line of credit was also made available.
For the purchase of animals and the development of irrigated plots of land, a line of credit was made available at a rate of 5%, which was far more accessible than the commercial bank rate, which was 12%.
And while a total of $9 million in financing and technical support came from the African Development Bank and other international institutions, the majority of the work was carried out by the islanders themselves. They received training on several aspects of agricultural engineering, from basic masonry and constructing the stone walls that now dot the hillsides to long-term farming practices and livestock management.
Thanks to the training, I found this job, because my employer has guaranteed stable work for me because of this experience. I learned a lot by working here, and I'm still learning thanks to Alidio, who's the technical expert. Yes, Mr. Arlindo Moreira is one of our recruits. He's involved in several agricultural programs, the techniques of production, the basics of treating sick animals, and how to set up the water piping.
And this group were some of the 65 youngsters that have since found long-term employment.
How did we get this opportunity? 25 youngsters were selected to study irrigation, and of the 25, just 7 of us were selected to work this parcel of land that was donated.
A priority for the authorities on Cape Verde was making sure women were not left behind. Homemakers who knew the frustrations and anguish of trying to raise families with often acute water shortages. Their associations were encouraged and supported by the project.
Now I just have to open the tap, and there's water. What chased hunger from our door? The cows in the fields help chase hunger from our door. The youngsters should embrace this project and continue to work hard. It's the best way they have to progress in life.
Where they once often migrated into the towns for parts of the year, women have been encouraged to stay on the land and take a leading role in forging their own destinies and financial security by more productive farming methods. Now lettuce, peas and turnips to courgettes and beetroot are being cultivated, and as a result provide enough to keep a steady flow of income for 7 or 8 months a year.
I've made money. I've bought vegetables and produce and sold it on and made money. Thanks to this income, I'm now able to send my daughters to university in Portugal.
Maria proudly shows off a photograph of her 2 girls. She applied and received credit for her business on 2 occasions and has now repaid the loans in full. Overall incomes have risen on average by 50%, to the equivalent of $1,900 a year in the Engueños and Picos catchment areas, according to official figures.
We want to be even more ambitious. We want to see the project followed up until 2016, and we're looking at putting aside $5 million for this.
Harnessing the island's natural resources in a long-term and sustainable manner is vital. Many livelihoods on these remote Atlantic islands depend on the land and water resources that have already seen so much improvement over the past decade. Wealth is in the land, in the water, and in the community's ability to manage their resources.
Welcome back on Business Africa. While the OMVS, the Organization for the Development of the Senegal River, has just signed an agreement with the Chinese Sinohydro for the construction of the Kukuamba Dam in Guinea, the organization has entrusted the restoration of the navigability of the river to the Indian Shapoorji Pallonji Group. The Indian company will proceed to the rehabilitation of a 900-kilometer navigable channel, allowing navigation 12 months round between Saint Louis in Senegal and Ambidadi in Mali. The cost of the works is estimated at more than 310 billion CFA francs, 47 million euros, financed by Exim Bank of India. In Rwanda, Ugandan businessman Ashish Thakur launches Mara Phones, the first 100% African smartphone production plant. For its launch, Mara Phones will produce 2 smartphone models specially adapted to the African market, including a long battery life, a large storage space, and of course, affordable prices, $130 to $190, depending on the models. Another plant could see the light of day in the next few months in South Africa. Fast foods are growing at a swift pace in sub-Saharan Africa, with new stores opening every week. Burger King has just announced a $2.7 billion investment to open restaurants in Kenya after South Africa, Ghana or Côte d'Ivoire. KFC, Pizza Hut and local chains like Yum Yum in Senegal are not left out. KFC has accelerated its growth on the continent with the signing of an agreement to open 5 facilities at Shell service stations in Côte d'Ivoire. Only McDonald's seems very cautious, with a limited presence in the Maghreb and South Africa. While the most vulnerable poultry farmers are closing down in Togo, George Sanvi has benefited from training from the CERSA, the Regional Center of Excellence on Avian Sciences. He and other farmers have learned to replace some of the expensive feeds such as corn. For the World Bank that funds the center, the African chicken market is full of promise. An African consumes on average only 3.3 kilos of poultry per year, while a French, for example, consumes 28 kilos.
Food stands are on the corner of every street, an ideal place for those fond of a quick and inexpensive meal. On the menu is spaghetti, omelets, chicken. These small businesses work, but aren't reliable as the prices of chicken and eggs are becoming too expensive. Bajia is 40 kilometers northwest of Lomé and is one of the many zones that supplies poultry products destined for national consumption. In this rich green region lies one of the rare farms that has been able to withstand the price hikes and inputs on the market. The farm's endurance matches only that of its owner, Georges Sanvi, a man passionate about raising livestock since the early 1990s.
Non seulement le maïs a flambé, le prix du soja a augmenté, le prix du son cubé a augmenté, tous les ingrédients qui entraient dans la composition de l'alimentation a augmenté. Dans le même temps, nous ne pouvons pas augmenter d'autant le prix des œufs. Donc ça a freiné de beaucoup notre élan.
An uneven growth that explains the regular fluctuations in egg prices on the market. Poultry farmers are closing shop, but George's love for the profession spurs him onward.
Je ne peux plus vivre sans ma ferme. Si je vois d'où je suis parti et où je suis aujourd'hui, je ne peux que m'en réjouir. J'ai failli aussi fermer, laisser tomber. Mais heureusement que le CERSA est arrivé pour nous montrer le chemin à suivre.
A new chapter began with the Regional Center of Excellence for Avian Science, CERSA, of the University of Lomé, financed by the World Bank. CERSA's experience is a big value added, and with their help, George has the courage to continue his work.
La rencontre avec le CERSA nous a fait pousser un grand ouf, parce que le CERSA a ouvert nos yeux sur comment doit être l'agriculture scientifiquement. À telle période où le maïs est trop cher, vous pouvez améliorer votre formulation d'alimentation en y adjoignant plutôt tel ingrédient pour au moins baisser le prix.
La plupart des éleveurs ont des formules qui ne répondent pas aux normes des poules ou encore des formules qui coûtent beaucoup parce qu'ils ne maîtrisent pas les techniques de formulation d'aliments. En maîtrisant ces techniques de formulation d'aliments, on réduit le coût de l'aliment, on améliore la performance des poules. Même s'il y a un ingrédient qui manque, on peut trouver un autre ingrédient pour le remplacer, pour le substituer, parce qu'on maîtrise la technique.
This support has produced proven results and responds to the expectations of poultry farmers.
C'est des formations pratiques. Si dans un poulailler, on avait 10 plateaux, avec la formation du CERSA, nous augmentons à 12, 13, 14 plateaux. C'est du bonus.
A bonus that is expected to continue to delight Togolese poultry farmers. A partnership that many farmers hope will last as long as possible. However, another challenge still needs to be addressed, that of reducing the cost of inputs on the market.
Avec le CERSA, tout va bien. Moi, mon espoir aujourd'hui, c'est de voir le prix du maïs baisser. Si on peut amoindrir le coût de l'alimentation, c'est autant de gagner. Nous allons produire pour nourrir toute la population togolaise.
High ambitions, the realization of which start with training young people in poultry farming. Georges Sanvi is a believer in passing down knowledge to the next generation. It's his way of leaving an impact, and he is going to great lengths to do so.
À part les formations que donne le CERSA, nous proposons de former aussi les jeunes désœuvrés du coin, déscolarisés, pour les enlever de leur milieu, pour les enlever de la délinquance, leur donner un petit métier, l'élevage, l'aviculture.
A dream that is taking shape. It took an inspirational meeting with CERSA. Initiatives like that of Georges Sanvi are promising for the future of Togo's livestock sector.
Well, it's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer the following questions, and if you are drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 509, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck.
First question. Over the past 15 years, conflicts have cost the continent $15 billion, $57 billion, or $200 billion. Second question. Cape Verde imports 15% of its food, 60%, or 80%.
And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is number 509. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations! You gave the correct answers to our game number 439.
The first question. In Cameroon, the white gold of Penja is... and the answer, pepper. The second question was, in Botswana, diamonds represent what percentage of exports? And the answer, 89%.
Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel with Initiative Africa with our guest, the President of the Commission of the UEMOA, Abdallah Bourema. In the meantime, you can watch our show again on our Vimeo and YouTube channels. Have a great week. Bye-bye.